Welcome to this slightly odd episode of Should Have Been on the Album, where we would normally explore the wacky world of songs that were relegated to B-sides and left off the major releases of their time. But today, I'll be looking at a viewer request from Davey Cretin 664, who wrote a comment in my Van Halen video about crossing over. In his comment, he mentioned the album Man of Miracles by Styx.
What?
Yes, Styx. Now, I know some of you are going to click away immediately, but bear with me. No matter where you stand with the band, they had some great material and garnered a musical legacy in their field, so you gotta give the band props. Plus, I'm a fan too, so yeah. But if you aren't going to click away, or I've convinced you to stay, please subscribe and like. I love the fact that I can share these videos with you, as well as my love for unknown and lost songs of great artists. But seriously, I do hope that you sticks around for this episode. Yeah, that was a bad pun. Anyways, Davey Cretin 664 wrote, as for a show idea, Styx had 3 different songs on various pressings, all number 1 on side 2 of their 4th LP, Man of Miracles. There was Best Thing, which first appeared on their self-titled debut album, a cover of the Knickerbockers' 60s garage nugget Lies, and a Dennis DeYoung penned beautiful ballad called Unfinished Song. So today, we're going to check out all 3 tracks and make a call on which one indeed should have been on the album. Should have been on the album. Styx is an American rock band that originated in Chicago during the early 1970s. While the band had several early incarnations, it was in 1970 when the founding members of Styx came together. The band included Dennis DeYoung, Chuck Panozzo and John Panozzo, John Kuralewski, and James J.Y. Young. In 1972, they signed to Wood & Nickel Records, releasing 4 albums in 3 years: Styx, Styx 2, The Serpent is Rising, and Man of Miracles. But while they developed a following in their hometown, they were unable to break into the mainstream. But then, Lady from Styx 2 began to get some radio airplay, and eventually rose to number 6 on the US charts. A&M Records quickly signed the band and released Equinox in 1975, garnering some attention. Kuralewski suddenly left the band just as they were about to go on tour, and Tommy Shaw was brought in as his replacement. After another album release, Crystal Ball, their first with Shaw, things quickly changed. It was their breakthrough album, The Grand Illusion in 1977, that catapulted them to international fame. The critically acclaimed record featured hits like Come Sail Away and Fooling Yourself, The Angry Young Man, solidifying Styx's place as a major player in the rock scene. Building on their success, the band released Pieces of 8 in 1978, with hits such as Renegade and Blue Collar Man, Long Nights. 1979 brought more chart success with their first number 1 hit, Babe, from Cornerstone. But tensions were rising between the band, with DeYoung wanting to go in a more mainstream direction and Shaw and Young looking for a more rock-based approach. Regardless, their conceptual album Paradise Theatre achieved multi-platinum success and included singles like Too Much Time on My Hands and The Best of Times. In 1983, Styx's ambitious rock opera, Kilroy Was Here, featured the iconic hit Mr. Roboto, but it was to spell the beginning of the end for the band, and they went on hiatus soon after releasing the live Caught in the Act. In the 1990s, the band, with various lineups, returned with Edge of the Century, Return to Paradise in 1997, and Brave New World in 1999. But health issues, infighting, and personality conflicts drove the band members apart. This included the departure of founding member Dennis DeYoung and the passing of original drummer John Panozzo. Jumping ahead to 2017, Styx released The Mission, a concept album that marked a return to their most progressive rock roots and received critical acclaim. Most recently, Styx released Crash of the Crown in 2021. So let's get into Man of Miracles a little more. Man of Miracles was originally released in 1974 and featured the original lineup of DeYoung, Young, Kuralewski, and Chuck and John Panozzo. It was re-released in 1979 and then again in 1980 as Miracles and with different artwork. The material is diverse, and Ultimate Classic Rock says that the band was still searching for an identity and that the songs are distinctly bipolar, with its combination of prog, classical, rock and roll, ballads and more. It would reach only 154 on the charts. Still, by the following year they had signed to A&M Records. Across the 3 different releases, the first side of the album is the same. It's got a 1-2 punch of rock and roll feeling and having a ball to kick off the album, followed by Golden Lark and a song for Suzanne, and finishing with A Man Like Me. But the strangest of the album appears on side 2. Or side B. So the songs do count as B-sides, right? The 74 edition has a cover version of the Knickerbockers' Lies. The 79 release replaces it with a song and single from their debut album called Best Thing. And the 1980 edition decided to put an outtake called Unfinished Song in the spot instead. The rest of the album is the same across all editions, with Evil Eyes, Southern Woman, Christopher Mr. Christopher, and the title track. So what gives, and why the different editions? According to Styxworld.com, the band was told by the record company at the time, Wood and Nickel Records, that they needed a single, so they recorded Lies. The same reasoning stands for the purpose of re-releasing the album with their highest charting single at the time in Best Thing from Styx 1, which peaked at number 82 in 1972. Remember, this is pre-Lady going off on the charts. The 1980 RCA edition puts Unfinished Song in the spot instead. The background of the track differs with different online sources. According to RateYourMusic.com and Proghead72, the track could be dated back to Styx's album The Serpent is Rising, and it was also produced by the same 2 people in Bill Trout and Barry Miraz. But Unfinished Song can be found as a bonus track on re-released versions of the Styx 2 album. Wood and Nickel Records released the song as its own single, produced in 1974. However, Dennis DeYoung clears all of this up in his interview on MagnetMagazine.com, saying, "It was for Man of Miracles. Remember, we were out of albums for our record deal, and Lady was a stiff when it was released. We were so desperate to have a hit, we did a cover version of the Knickerbockers' Lies, which the record company wanted more than Unfinished Song. I don't think there's ever been a band that has had more missteps or bad management in their career than what we had. An Unfinished Song I wrote with my brother-in-law Chuck. He was a disabled Vietnam veteran, and those are his words, my music. Usually on Styx songs, those are my lyrics, but that's Chuck. It's a good one." So Lies was to be the hit, but wasn't. And then my guess is that the later 2 releases were trying to cash in on Styx's growth in popularity. It's the, look, there's something different and new on this release trick. Maybe everything old is new, I guess. Or maybe, as suggested by Chris Thale on YouTube, the label of Knickerbockers wanted more cash, so RCA dumped the song and put in Unfinished Song. At this point, I guess it's anybody's guess. So, which out of the 3 would have been a better fit for Man of Miracles? Let's bear in mind that the original pressing had Lies, a cover track as the opener for side 2. And to be honest, it's an upbeat number that is very well performed by the band. Best Thing, as mentioned, is the hit. Hit? From their first album. The acoustic guitar gives us the intro before the organ riffs in. Harmonies abound, and there's prog influences throughout. But still, it feels like a tack-on rather than a thought-out album sequencing choice. So that brings us to Unfinished Song. It's a piano-driven ballad that lilts and sways along with wistfulness and longing. The track also hints to the songwriting direction that the band would soon take. Less prog, more conventional, but still with a sense of theatricality. And the song isn't unfinished. The lyrics are about a person trying to find where they belong, that their life, and thus their song, is unfinished. It's melodic and catchy and beautiful. Singing my unfinished soul. What's the call, Drew? First of all, let's leave Best Thing on Styx 1. The band had grown in their performance and songwriting abilities since that album, with Styx 2 and The Serpent is Rising coming before Man of Miracles. It doesn't warrant a spot on their fourth album. That leaves Lies an unfinished song. And I have to say, I prefer unfinished song. I'm generally, not always, of the opinion that an original track is better than a cover. And while that's not always true, in this case, unfinished song is a winner. The melody is strong, the performance is spot on, and even though the label didn't think it single-worthy, I reckon that the timing was actually right for it, especially with acts like Elton John, the Bay City Rollers, the Carpenters and more, exploring similar musical styles and content. And maybe that's why, in just a few months, Lady would suddenly become a smash hit. It's not that Lies is a poor song or poorly performed, but Unfinished Song is just right. It was written for the album, according to DeYoung, and provides a balance to the prog rock leanings of the rest of the album. Lies didn't end up being the hit the label wanted anyway, and I do think that they made, ultimately, the wrong call. Styx's Wood and Nickel years is an interesting view into a band that is finding its identity, learning its craft, and making some curious choices along the way. Yet, that's not to say that there aren't nuggets of gold in the early years. If you're patient, you'll discover some great Styx tracks that deserve renewed listening and critique. After all, Lady, their big smash, came out of their second album. That's proof enough that the band had what it took way before their breakout. So, what do you think? Please drop a comment below. And if you know of a B-side, rare track, or something else that I should take a look at, do what Davey Cretin 664 did and let me know. You can also email me on shouldvebeenonthealbum@gmail.com. And thanks to all of you who already have. But until next time, my name is Drew, and you've been watching Should Have Been on the Album. Cheers. Unfinished soul.